This is Bob Beckel,
This is Cal Thomas, a conservative who is pro-life,
a liberal who once worked for Jimmy Carter,
who favors smaller government,
who believes in big government.
and in a town full of cheap shot artists, I've never heard Cal take a cheap shot.
But even when he's wrong, he's likable. And this is Common Ground.
And this is Common Ground.
Welcome to Common Ground, a video version of Bob Beckel's and my bi-weekly USA Today column in which we try to figure out how to bridge Washington's partisan divide. Well, Bob, Happy New Year to you, and this has become more and more difficult despite our efforts to bridge Washington's partisan divide. I will give you some credit, though. You came up with some tremendous predictions for the year 2009, most of which came true due to your great experience, insight, and general baloney that you spew forth every week. You predicted that the president would have a health care bill by the end of the year, and that looks like it's coming to fruition. Certainly by the first part of the year, you predicted accurately that the auto bailout would save the automakers. That was true. So I congratulate you on that.
Well, thank you very much, Cal, and a Happy New Year to you, too. Now, you had some predictions which absolutely floored me. One was that you predicted Michael Steele was going to be chairman of the Republican National Committee. Nobody, but nobody, thought that was going to happen. You talk about a crapshoot, and it worked for you, pal. And the other thing you said was that you thought that Obama would have a transformative government. Mm-hmm. Now, where you said that was pejorative, I thought. I have liked the fact that he's had a transformative government. Some of the things you mentioned, like health care reform, bailing out the auto companies, these are good things, solid things. And I'm very proud to say Barack Obama is my president.
Well, he's my president, too. I'm less proud to say it, but we have one president at a time, and he's mine as well. But let's look ahead to 2010, which is what we're all about in our column and in our video presentation today. 2010 is an election year. All of the House of Representatives and many United States senators up for re-election. The polls show overwhelmingly now that people do not like this Congress. They show disapproval for the health care bill. They don't like some of the trade-offs and the buying of votes that they see. I predict a tremendous Republican resurgence, taking back the House of Representatives and getting very close to a majority in the United States Senate. I have not seen the Republican Party this unified since Ronald Reagan over 20 years ago.
Can I make a suggestion? You stick to writing columns and let me handle the politics. And let me just say this, dream on. The chances that the Republicans will take over the House or the Senate, or even come close to the Senate, are not going to happen. I'll tell you why. Because unlike the transformation that took place in 2006, the Democrats have not nearly the kind of scandals that the Republicans had. And secondly, they don't have that many volatile seats. But beyond that, you're depending on the economy and Barack Obama being in bad shape come Election Day. And I will tell you that by Election Day 2010, Barack Obama's poll numbers will be up and unemployment will be down. Could put those together, the Democrats will lose some seats. I agree with you there, but not nearly enough to lose either house.
Well, I think that the unemployment will continue to hover around, if not above 10%, Bob. There's just no way, given the taxing and spending policies of this Congress and administration, that it's going to turn around. But let's move ahead. Let's take a look at the media, which, of course, had been in the pocket of Barack Obama during the campaign and wrote and broadcast favorable stories like they never would have done for a Republican. One thing about the media, leftist though they are, they love a good story. And if his numbers continue to fall, and in some polls they have declined at the end of 2009, under 50%, I think you're going to see the media slowly turn against him. They'll never admit they were wrong in their judgments about him, but I think they'll turn against it.
You know, this is supposed to be predictions. It's not supposed to be what happened yesterday. They've already turned against him. And you're right, by the way, that they did help him in his election, but I think they set the bar for him way too high. And I predicted in one of our columns that he was going to fall below 50% in the polls by the fall of this year. You're bound to when you have an economy like this and unemployment like this, all of which he inherited. But having said that, I think that the media, being the media, and not being committed to things like facts, particularly the blogosphere, and you know they don't have any facts at all. They've turned against Obama now, but you wait. When Obama looks like some of these things he's done are working out, they'll turn right back in his direction.
You know, I think what we're going to see, since the Congress appears unable to control its spending, the Chinese government has raised, you should pardon the pun, a red flag. And one of the top honchos in the Bank of China, a gentleman named Zhu Min, who is, according to the Shanghai People's Daily, He said the United States cannot force foreign governments to increase the holdings of treasuries. I think you're going to see in 2010 the Chinese government, which holds so many of our notes, so much of our debt, pulling in the reins and doing something that the Congress has refused to do.
Well, first of all, let me just say that part of the debt that we've got here, a big part of it has to do with the Iraq War, which you were a big supporter of. I was not, as you know.
Yes.
Now, I think, and the Chinese helped pay for that debt by buying our bonds. So I've got an idea for all you conservatives that love these wars. Why not have a surtax to pay for the war? And that way we don't have to go that much more in debt to the Chinese. However, having said that, the reason the Chinese, I predict, will not pull back is that they hold so many bonds of U.S. Treasury notes that if they pull back, the prices of those notes will go down and they'll hurt themselves.
Well, one of the things we've agreed to in this video, as well as in our columns, is the need for Iraq to pay more of its own bill. I could fully support, if President Obama and his administration sent Iraq a bill. I think it is a complete outrage that Iraq put up for auction some of the oil fields, most of which were bought by the Russians and Chinese. We ought to be getting free oil. We ought to be getting 25-cent gas. They ought to be paying the bill in 2010.
Here. I'll tell you, it couldn't be further from the truth about what they've done to us on this. You know, the fact that we liberated that country and they didn't give us the oil fields. I mean, at least give us a free lease for 5 years drives me crazy. But leaving that aside, let's stick with that part of the world. I predict that Iran will move aggressively forward in its nuclear weapon program, much more than we've seen so far. The Israelis at that point will be forced to probably have to bomb them and take out part of what they're doing. The United States will try to convince them not to do that. The rest of the world will be in an uproar if they do it, but Israel has to do it. And if they do, the United States will, in the end, stick with Israel.
Right. Well, one of the things I'd like to see, as we saw near the end of 2009, a major demonstration in the city of Qom, which is right where one of the major nuclear reactors is, following the death of one of the Ayatollahs who was behind the revolution in 1979. There were hundreds of thousands of people taking to the street and calling for the overthrow of the dictator Ahmadinejad. I think the Obama administration would be very well advised to do all it can behind the scenes in 2010 to encourage that movement so that bombing and other military action might not be necessary. That would be my great hope.
All right, let me give you another prediction about wars. I hate to predict about wars, but I think that Obama's surge in Afghanistan is going to work. You're going to find that we've made a lot more progress there than a lot of people give us credit for, or think that Obama is going to take credit for. It's going to work, particularly on the Afghan-Pakistan border, which is really where we need help. And I predict further, the Pakistanis, now that they've seen what they're living with over there and getting bombed every day, will increase their military involvement, and we're going to see a major degradation of both the Taliban and what's left of al-Qaeda.
Well, Bob, I would join you in the praise for the administration if that happens. I think that's in the interest of everybody, whether they're a conservative or a liberal. Well, finally, I think it's likely that we're going to have more sex scandals in 2010. How's that go for going out on a limb?
You can't
I
believe
mean,
that.
you know, Tiger Woods has kind of set the bar sort of high for this with a reported 14 women with whom he's been involved. And we have members of Congress, once again, from both parties, one of the few bipartisan things that happen in Washington, a sex scandal. So look for more of those to take our attention away from things that really matter in 2010.
Boy, is that a bold prediction. I mean, the fact is, that's like saying the sun's going to rise tomorrow. Are you going to have a sex scandal, particularly in Washington? Although, I don't know, maybe not. Are there enough Republicans left who haven't had a sex scandal to have any sex scandals? I'm not sure about that.
I think it's pretty even.
But look, I tell you, it's amazing to me that these people continue to get themselves in trouble. Politicians or public figures or athletes or actors, they seem to think they can get away with this. And every time they try to get away with it, they get caught. And I just don't think they learn from history, and they should. And if they think they're going to get away with it, they won't. And I think, in the end, I predict this. The Tiger Woods will make a comeback. People will accept him back because he is, if not the greatest, one of the greatest golfers in the world. And no amount of sex scandal is going to take that away from him. So that's where I would leave you with that one.
Well, Bob, one thing I think we can both agree on, we wish each other a happy new year, a prosperous new year, and a safe new year. And I've enjoyed this year and look forward to it again in 2010 with you.
Coming back at you, Cal, I wish you a happy new year, you and your family. And I'll tell you, I will say again that you're one of the few conservatives that I can sit with this entire year doing these videos and walk away from this set and still like you,
Well,
which is amazing. But anyway, Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to everybody out there. And look, check out our column in the paper and on USA Today's opinion blog at usatoday.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back again for the next installment of Common Ground.